This is the Kratom Science Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Gallagher, blog and social media writer for KratomScience.com, your source for all things Kratom.
Julie Current is a survivor. She had a rough childhood, and as an adult, she survived physical abuse that led to multiple disabilities like PTSD, chronic pain, and epilepsy. With Kratom, kava, and cannabis as tools, she's coming up on 2 years sober on October 28th. This is Julie Current, and this is her Kratom story. You said you were trying to move.
Yes, I've been trying to move to be closer to my kids, which is actually part of my story. So, yeah, but I'm moving from the other side of Dallas, and during a pandemic, it's not that easy to look at apartments and whatnot. So.
Or are you originally from Austin?
I am. I was born and raised in Austin and Houston. My dad moved to Houston when I was 11, so grew up in both cities. But yeah, well, I was only in Granbury for about a year. It was kind of just a stepping stone to get closer to my kids. My sister is there, so I went to help with my nephews and help her and get closer to my kids. But
how many kids do you have?
2.
You said you were on pills for 15 years, and so what led you? That's opioid pills, I assume.
Right.
And
well, opiates and benzos. So
okay.
I was doing both, and somas at one time. So, yeah.
So what led you to get into that? And how old were you when you started doing that?
Well, when I actually, honestly, didn't ever do any drugs or smoke or drink. I had a pretty rough childhood, and I was in therapy by the time I was 17, and the doctor had put me on, like, heavy doses of Elavil and Ativan. And then when I got in my 20s, I had some dental work done, and I had a lot of nightmares and flashbacks and stuff from things that happened when I was a child. And I noticed when I was taking the pain pills, all of that went away. So that kind of began my struggle, and then I got into an abusive relationship and got actually seriously hurt to where I couldn't function without them, and it just became a very vicious cycle that I could not get out of for over 15 years probably.
Dr. Gabor Mate from Canada, he's really good, and he talks about how pretty much every addiction comes from some kind of childhood trauma, and I'm finding, like, the people that I talk to about on this podcast, that's happened to them as well. And so he talks about, he's like, focuses less on the addiction and more on what caused it. So you got on the pills, it took your sort of, I guess, PTSD from all that away. Is that right?
Right. It did. It silenced. Like, I was finally sleeping through the night without waking up or going to bed terrified of having nightmares. I had night terrors, where I felt like I couldn't move and I was trapped, or else I would have nightmares about people attacking me, and it just silenced all of it. So that was a big win,
Yeah.
But then I wasn't in so much physical pain, so that just kind of went back and forth for a few years. It didn't really start until I got seriously hurt and I got back on them full force, and it just went bad from there because I actually needed them to get out of bed, and I didn't see anything wrong with them because the doctor gave them to me. So, but then I started abusing them, and it just went worse.
Yeah. And so that all lasted for about 15 years, you said, with the pills?
Yeah. Yes, easily, yeah.
And so was your injury from getting beat up or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I was in an abusive relationship. I got slammed to the ground. I got my head hit so many times that I now have epilepsy, which was another issue with the pills because a lot of them were triggering partial mal seizure episodes, and we didn't know it. People just thought I was passing out from taking too many, and I was, but I was also having brain seizures. So it just was a very ugly cycle. Yeah.
You were talking about, you almost lost your life. Was that like from an overdose?
No, actually, that was and it happened more than once, but the one time I'm talking about where I collapsed and broke my skull, I took 2 tramadol. I mean, that's what I was prescribed. I was prescribed up to 8 a day. I was prescribed up to 8 Norco-10s a day, 6 to 8 tramadols a day, and then depending on the time, sometimes it was somas, sometimes it was Valium, sometimes it was Xanax, but it was some kind of, and then they would put morphine on top of that. But that particular day, I had stopped all of that. I had just taken 2 tramadol, but I hadn't slept and I hadn't eaten because I had been taking care of 6 young children, and I just collapsed and it went into a seizure episode, and it caused when I fell backwards, my brain started bleeding and my heart stopped in front of my kids, and I had to be revived, and I was put in a medically induced coma for a week. They didn't think I was going to wake up. So yeah.
And
So
that
the
was
pills were really causing problems.
yeah, and that
Too
was
hard.
December 28th, 2015
Yeah.
that you collapsed. Okay. Like, just tell me, I guess, about, your life while you were addicted to opiates. Were you said you almost lost your kids. Is that because, you went through, like, the legal system for any reason, and you almost
Yeah.
lost
I
custody of
mean,
them?
yes, we did. Well, I mean, my kids are older too, so I mean, they would remember. They would see me passing out. They would
Yeah.
see all these the behavior of the drugs. I wasn't reliable, but then also, yes, when my ex-husband and I did split, we did go through the legal thing, and he was requesting drug tests, and he and I had actually done pills together, and that was what made our toxic relationship toxic. But he had stopped, and I
Mm.
hadn't been able to yet. So, I mean, it was very bloody and very ugly. And for 2 years, I didn't really see my kids. They would barely speak to me. I've been 2 years clean now, so we're in a really good place now. But for a while, it was, really bad, real bad.
You said an ex-boyfriend introduced you to Kratom.
Yeah, actually, that was during the time period where everything was kind of ugly legally, and I started dating this guy, and I actually thought he was a great guy. He had a great job. He had custody of his daughter. He had his own house. I thought, I'm finally got a responsible guy. I did not know he was smoking meth in the bathroom because I was completely ignorant to street drugs. I mean, pills, I could tell you what they were if they were worth taking, but I didn't know anything about street drugs. But
Yeah.
anyway, but it introduced me to Kratom, and I, went through a few more battles. It took me until October 28, 2018 till I really took it seriously and started taking it. But yeah, he was the one that told me about it, and I, showed it to me. So I started kind of taking it on and off in 2017. But after
Yeah.
he assaulted me and put me in the hospital, I had to have bone
Jesus.
marrow scraped out of my right foot.
Oh,
And
God.
so, and I had been pretty much, yeah, I mean, I had been pretty much using the Kratom, but I had only, I mean, I just met him in like December. So, and I was in the hospital by March. So I hadn't really gotten a chance to really, figure out what it was yet. And I was in the hospital for 6 weeks with an IV in my heart because I had to be on such strong antibiotics. They thought I was going to lose my leg. Thank God I did not. It was literally the doctor doesn't even know why I didn't lose it to this day. It was a miracle. But once I recovered from that and realized that I was tanking my life into hell with these pills was when I just said no more and started with the Kratom and realized how much freedom that I would actually have and I could live again.
Damn, you had it rough. I mean, shit.
Yeah.
I mean,
but you know what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. Honestly, I'm living proof of that. And so,
yeah.
I wouldn't trade that experience, what I went through with him. I honestly would not trade that because what Kratom has given me is so much more freedom than the pain he caused. So I can deal with that because I survived. But yeah, but I didn't know he was smoking it in the bathroom. But when he went to shooting it was when he got crazy, and that's when I saw the change in him. Because for 6 weeks, like I was living there, he was perfect, everything was great. But then he went crazy one night, and he had an assault rifle, and I had to literally run to the neighbors and have her call the police, and they had to come get me out of there. It was a big deal, but I survived.
So it's almost 2 years sober. So
Yeah.
take us through, I guess, how you got off opiates and switched to Kratom. Did you quit cold turkey with the opiates, or did you taper off of them with Suboxone? That's what a lot of people do, and then introduce the Kratom.
No, honestly, that I got out of the hospital, and I was kind of in a downward spiral where I got involved with the wrong person, and I ended up getting arrested on September 14th because I was with the wrong guy and I had the wrong, just everything.
Yeah.
I got out of jail and I was like, enough is enough. I'm going to die or I'm going to quit, and this is it. And so I just stopped cold turkey. I walked away from everybody I knew. I left the Austin area. Everything. And it just changed. And I went and stayed with my sister, and she helped me a lot. And then I went and stayed with my dad, and now I'm here.
So you moved. This all happened in Austin, and then you just moved to Dallas a couple years ago.
Right. So I took,
Okay.
I just started taking the Kratom. I quit cold turkey, just took the Kratom. I didn't need the Suboxones. I didn't need anything else because the Kratom took care of everything. It took care of my pain. It took care of my anxiety, my PTSD, the withdrawal, everything.
Yeah, that's great. And I just wrote about on the blog about a study that they did in rats that, the Kratom, or it was pure my tragedy, but it was a better withdrawal remedy for morphine than buprenorphine was, which is buprenorphine,
Right.
Suboxone, the same thing. So you didn't even experience any withdrawals at all? Or
No. I mean, it took a couple of weeks to get the full benefit of the kratom, I guess. But no, I didn't. I mean, I think I just had a little more energy after all the poison was out of my system, basically. But no, I didn't have any detox. I didn't even have nightmares. That was one thing. Every single time I ran out of pills, I knew I was having nightmares that night. I knew it between the detox and the PTSD. There was no way I was sleeping. And kratom took care of all of that for me.
how much were you taking at the beginning versus maybe like how much do you take today?
Honestly, I have to be very careful because of my epilepsy. So I have to really, really research and monitor everything that I put into my body. I really haven't increased that much. My body is kind of different. I can only tolerate so much, and once I've had it, like if I do try to take more than my body wants, then I will. It just comes right out. Like I can't even keep it down.
Yeah.
So I probably take 5 to 6 grams, maybe. I mean, depending on like when I'm working and on my feet, I need a little more for pain relief. But 5 to 6 grams, every 3 to 4 hours, depending. I have where I get mine from. I have some enhanced products that kind of last longer, so sometimes I don't have to take it that often. But I don't take nearly as much kratom as I ever took pills. I can tell you that. The guy that introduced me to it, he would take 2 big tablespoons, but he was like, "You're little, so you should probably start with a teaspoon." And so I would take a teaspoon of it, just kind of a heaping teaspoon, and that's what I take now. I mean, sometimes I'll take I have the enhanced extract crystals, and sometimes I'll take a teaspoon with a little, like 1/8 of a teaspoon with that if I'm having a lot of pain. But other than that, no, I haven't had to increase my dosage that much. I mean, I also rotate, strains and sometimes vendors if I have to, which helps. But good. And then, of course, I take kava, and I have my, CBD tunes and everything. So, it kind of helps it last, I guess.
So does kratom help with your epilepsy symptoms? Like keep down? Do you have seizures regularly, or?
I did when I was on pills. I had them all the time. I haven't had one in almost 2 years now. So,
great.
Yes, but it controls my triggers, and then. So which basically if I have severe hypoglycemia, so I have to make sure my blood sugar stays level. I have to get enough rest, and I can't like freak out with anxiety. Kratom, it balances out my mind and my body to where I function like a normal person, and I haven't had a seizure in 2 years. So
that's great. And I'm sure, I think, does the CBD help with that too, do you think?
Oh, tremendously.
Yeah.
Yes, I always. Yeah, I mean, I think cutting out. I take ibuprofen, but I think cutting out everything else I put in my body is all natural, and I eat healthy, and so it helps. But I could not do it. The kratom is like the backbone of everything I do. Everything else just kind of helps the kratom keep me standing, I guess.
So how do you prepare kratom?
It depends. Sometimes I make what I call power balls. So I take whatever strain or a blend, whatever I want to make, and I put lemon juice or lime or orange juice in it, and I make it into an actual mud and roll it into little balls and let it dry so that I can take it at work like ibuprofen. But if I'm at home, I usually just do the toss and wash. I don't like to really mix it and drink it because it just makes me gag. So just get it over with.
That power balls, that's a good idea. I've never heard that one. That sounds like a good idea.
It's convenient at work because I'm a bartender, and like I said, I can let them dry and just put them in an ibuprofen or whatever bottle or a Ziploc bag, and I just pop them in my mouth and go.
Hell yeah, that sounds good. And I bet it's more efficient than capsules, because capsules, they have that gelatin around them, and some people say it takes long to kick in.
And that is true, and also the lemon juice breaks down the alkaloids and potentiates the kratom, and I'll put a little kava powder in there with them sometimes, and it works great.
So kava, that's one I haven't experienced that much. What does that do for you?
Kava is kind of so kava is to Xanax what kratom is to opiates, I guess. It's not going to be really strong and knock you out, but it puts you on a very peaceful level. It increases your dopamine production. So, and when you combine it with kratom, it really is good for anti-anxiety. So. It's native to Hawaii, to Polynesian cultures, and they've been using it for hundreds of years for ceremonies and stuff. So
Fiji's the big one where they have kava.
Fiji,
I think. Yeah. I looked that up a little bit. I tried it in it's an extract. It was an extract oil. I don't think I took enough for my body size because it didn't really do nothing. But I would love to have the tea though. I want to try it one time.
Yeah. It's great. I brew my own, or I have the powders if I have time. Like I have my own, I brew at home. But the thing about kava is that it has what's called a reverse tolerance for some people. So you have to actually get it in your system for a week or two to experience the benefits of it for some people. Some people not, but a lot of times it does. So.
What side effects have you had with Kratom?
I have, honestly, the side effects that I had with pills were so much worse that I don't really consider, I mean, I feel like I'm healthier and stronger and more positive than ever. Like I said, if I take too much, it might make me nauseous. But other than that, I don't have any issues with Kratom. I mean, it's messy, obviously, but no, I don't really have any side effects from it. I watch what I take, and it does me well.
And if you don't take Kratom for a couple days, do you get withdrawals?
I do. That doesn't usually happen because I have 3 herniated discs and sciatica, and I just had most of the bone removed from my foot, so I usually am in so much pain I can't go. Yeah, but if I will forget to take it. Not with my pills, it was a ritual. With Kratom, I honestly just remember to take it when I start hurting, if that makes sense.
But anybody that I talk to that it's been addicted to opiates has said there's no comparison. Is that your experience?
Oh my. Yes, yeah. No, I mean, if I like between shipments or whatever, I might get a little tired, like I don't have as much energy, and obviously my pain comes back. But no, the opiate detox I went through was so much worse, and I also was addicted to tramadol, and I don't know what it is about tramadol, but people that actually do get addicted to it, the detox from that is so much worse than opiates. So I guess that's why to me, Kratom is just, I'm a little tired. I don't like to run out because my anxiety is sky high.
Yeah.
But as far as the physical, it's nothing. It's a cakewalk compared to that other stuff.
So have you ever had a doctor that you could talk to about Kratom?
I actually have one now. He knows that I try to do the, healing way, the kava and all that, and he's completely on board with that. He doesn't, I've explained to him I struggle with pain management and that I don't want to be in pain management, and he's fully supportive of that.
What was a pain management program like, and what did you not like about it? I mean, other than the opioids.
Well, it was expensive. It was costing me so much money that should have been going to my kids. And then, of course, I'm sure I'm not the first one to tell you that pain medication, eventually you have to take more if you want to stay out of pain. So, I mean, it was costing, $600-700 a month because you'd have to go to multiple doctors. It was a danger legally. There was just all kinds of things that I didn't like about it. And it was stressful, having to get up and go to the doctor every month or 2 weeks or whatever.
Probably makes you want to take more pills. It's just the stress.
Yeah, I mean, it really, it's like that vicious cycle that you can't get out of. And I prayed, and I honestly thought that my family didn't think that I would be alive this time. I mean, 2.5 years ago, it was that bad because the seizures were just, I was collapsing all the time. So this is just so much more freedom. There's so many bad things I can say about being in pain management. So.
Yeah. You can keep saying more bad stuff if you want to.
Well, I mean, it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle, and my children hated it. I was dragging them to doctors' offices, and it to me, it's a very dark period of my life that I didn't think I'd ever escape, and I'm so thankful that I did.
Did you lose custody of your kids for a while?
Well, no, I didn't lose custody of them, but they were older and they chose to go live with their dad.
Yeah.
I had joint custody, but he had residential. I had to kind of give him that when everything went crazy, so he could, they primarily lived with him. And then I was still living in Austin when they actually moved to this area, so they actually lived here for a couple of years, and I was so out of it and so messed up that I didn't ever get to see them. I mean, I loved them, but my life was completely out of focus. So, which today that's different. Today, that's why I'm here, and we are close, and everything is better. So
that's awesome. Congratulations, by the way. It must have been so hard to get out of that, all the crap you went through, and you did it. So that's great.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Are you involved in any of the activism about Kratom?
I sign petitions. I follow the groups on Facebook. I do everything I can to be active, even if it's not regarding my state. Like, yes, I will, I don't know what further I could do, but yes, I talk about Kratom to everybody. I've gotten my whole family involved in it now. They, at first, especially my dad, was like, oh, it's horrible, but even he is taking it now. And so I'm always outspoken about it, very much so, in my community.
Is there anything in Texas or Dallas does anything ever come up there? I don't think I really hear anything from Texas.
No, actually, Texas, it's kind of backwards here in Texas, which I appreciate. No, we don't have any issue with Kratom here. We're still working through the medical marijuana thing, but they've legalized it for people like me, but there's no dispensaries or doctors. So, but no, Kratom, we don't have any, issues at all.
That's
Thank
good.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it seems like a lot of, like, some of the Midwestern, and even Northeastern and Deep South states it's kind of iffy there. But once you get out west, people are like, you leave me alone. This is why we moved out.
Right,
this is why
I know.
the settlers moved out there in the first place.
Exactly.
So it's like,
No, that's funny. No, it's funny.
It's
you
like
say
pure
that.
libertarianism.
It is. I know, right? No, I dated a guy for a while, and he lives in Arkansas. And recently, he wanted to get back with me, and I'm like, I could never live in Arkansas because Kratom is illegal in your state. They treat it like heroin. So, and I could never do that. So,
do you have medical cannabis there yet?
We do. Our governor passed it last year. It's legal for people with epilepsy.
Cool.
The problem, there's loopholes because they're setting up the dispensaries and the doctors. So we can go to another state. Like, I'm going to try to just go to Oklahoma and get my card because I'm only a couple hours away from there, and then I'll be legal here. So, but it is legal. It's just a ticket anyway. So.
Okay, that's great. That's great. I finally got my card here in Pennsylvania, so it's like, wow, it's legal for me to do that now. That's
awesome.
Feels good.
I know, right?
It's good because
it really does. Because I'm like, I spent so many years doing things that were illegal. You know what I mean? And now weed is like the only thing. I just need them to push that on through. So.
Yeah, it's good. It talk about anxiety. It relieves your anxiety a little bit. That's the only anxiety that it ever gave me, is that it was illegal.
100%. I agree with you on that. Yes.
And you know what I was going to say about the epilepsy is the FDA approved a drug called Epidiolex. All it is pure CBD, but if you were to get it, it would cost $13,000 a year for the average person. Versus if you find a good source of CBD, same thing. Yeah.
That's very much the same. No, I didn't know that. Wow. But yes, it does. It really does. And I do actually carry the CBD gummies as well with the cannabis because, sometimes it's like instant relief. I can feel the dizziness and then I'll take it and I'm fine. And it could just be the anxiety because when you've had seizures, when you know you're about to go into one, it's the worst feeling in the world because you don't know what's going to happen when you wake up.
Yeah.
But I love my CBD and Kratom and kava lifestyle. So.
Yeah, that should be open and legal for everybody. I think we all agree on that. I think most people agree on that. As a bartender, bartenders you're busy, you're going. Does the Kratom as a stimulant help you with that? Like, would you recommend Kratom to a bartender who didn't need it for pain or anything else, just because it kind of gets you up and running?
Yes, I absolutely would. The one that I would, if somebody just wanted it for energy, I would recommend the crushed leaf because I also do that where I will take an energy blend of tea and the crushed leaf and I'll brew them together and actually drink it as a tea, which is a completely different Kratom feeling and everything. And that does it. It makes you positive and gives you energy. And yes, I would absolutely recommend it over an energy drink or anything.
There's dependency and there's addiction, but have you ever felt like you were addicted to it and you were taking too much, or do you ever try to lower your dose, or has your dose remained pretty much the same?
Honestly, with me, and I know I'm different than most people because I have had to increase it maybe little, but there's a certain line that I absolutely positively will not go past because I'm terrified of sending myself into seizures. So I have basically, I mean, I really have stayed the same. The only thing I've done is maybe, like I said, I've added the extracts. Sometimes I'll brew the crushed leaf, so I don't just take the kratom powder. Like, I'll take it in every form it's available.
Yeah.
But I haven't like maxed. But I mean, I know I depend on it to get out of bed. I'm not. But the way my body has been broken, I'm going to have to depend on something, and so I'd rather depend on kratom that keeps me healthy, and I'm okay with that.
Like, what would you say to somebody who's in the middle of an opiate addiction and, you know, doesn't see a way out, and would you have anything to say to them?
Yes, actually, when I moved to Granbury, I had a friend that I met at work. She had that problem, and she was afraid she was going to lose her husband and her family. And I started making her my power balls and talking her through it. And now she's part of my kratom groups, and she, you know, she's doing better. She was terrified of, you know, being addicted to pills and hiding it from her husband. And I've done that with several people. Everybody kind of knows me. They kind of joke about it, but I mean, I literally do. I'm kind of like a kratom guru, and I will talk anybody through anything. I've helped several people get away from opiates with not me, but the kratom, and just, you know, telling them about it. So I'm a very big believer in it. God saved my life with that plant. So.
Thank you so much, Julie Current. That was a great conversation. The music is by Risey. The song is called Memories of Thailand. The Kratom Science Podcast is written and produced by me, Brian Gallagher, for KratomScience.com. Take care.